Another thing to understand about microphones and their directionality is what we call axis. And that refers to the relationship between where the microphone's pointed and where the source of the sound is coming from. An on-axis sound is something that's directly in front of the microphone. Off-axis is something where it's coming from the side and it's not pointing right at the side of the pattern. See, I've got the patterns here. So that's off-axis. Here's another example. On-axis, off-axis. Axis is basically broken down into 360 degrees. If something's dead on, 0 degrees, that's on-axis. Anything that's off by any degree is referred to by a degree. So this, for example, would be 45 degrees off-axis. The reason axis is important is because as you move your sound source around the microphone or point the microphone in a different direction, the frequency response and sensitivity of the microphone changes. And axis is a way to it's a way to make a note of how you recorded something and how you plan to pick something up. Let's look at a slide that shows our polar pattern graph again, but let's think of it in terms of axis this time and not necessarily just response. So it's a 360 degree circle. Here's our polar pattern, a cardioid. The front of the pattern, 0 degrees on axis. To the sides, 45 degrees, 90, etc., 180 degrees off axis. So as we move with different patterns, we get different frequency response. And the reason this is worth knowing about is that sometimes it's a problem, but sometimes it's a benefit. So if you have a microphone set up and it gets turned accidentally while things are recording, the voice can change. For instance, right now, I'm going to turn the way I'm facing this microphone and go off axis. And you can see if you can hear any change in my voice at all. Now I'm off axis. Do I sound different? Now I'm back around to the front. See, that makes a difference. The advantage of it existing, because you'd say, well, why don't we just make every microphone omnidirectional, is that sometimes there's things you don't want to pick up on axis, or sometimes there's sounds that are too loud, or sometimes someone's too nasally, so you want them to be off axis. Like here, I moved over way to the side of the mic. See how I sound I'm not quite there the same way. I'm not as present and bright. Sometimes that's an advantage. Now I'm back in the front of the mic here, talking straight into it. So that's the axis effect. Once you kind of know how a mic deals with that, if it does at all, then you can figure out how to use that as a tool and how to avoid certain things. It's kind of all about matching your sound source with your microphone and then making decisions about how you want to grab that sound source. And axis is it's a tool that you can use if you understand it and worth knowing about. In the next movie, we're going to look at the frequency response of a microphone and the proximity effect.